Wow, what a beautiful morning and what a beautiful path. This is the remains of the road from Jerusalem to Emmaus. Huh. Okay, so let's walk on it. So, Shalom everyone. Welcome to another vlog by Danny the Digger. And this time, completing the subject of Emmaus, the site mentioned only in the Gospel of Luke in the last chapter, as the place where two men were walking towards it and a stranger joined them, or at least he was a stranger for them. They did not recognize who he was, and they told him, "Have you heard of the men rising from the dead in Jerusalem?" And he spoke to them, but he didn't tell them that it was actually him. And when they reached Emmaus, they finally recognized him, but he disappears again. On the way to Emmaus is where he appeared in front of those two men. And as an archaeologist, I'm asking one question: where is the site and where is that road? And in the previous chapters, we have reviewed several possibilities. One, my favorite, down there in the valley, is Emmaus Nicopolis. But as we discussed this, the distance between the site and the city does not match what Luke tells us. There is another candidate, actually now there's three of them, in the area of Abu Ghosh, which are indeed in the right distance, but the name is not preserved. That implies both to the Crusader Church in Abu Ghosh, both to El Kubeba side, a bit north of Abu Ghosh, where the Catholics uncovered a Crusader-era church, which they argued may have related to that story. And recent excavations at biblical Kiryat Yarim, biblical, I mean Old Testament, a site that highly relates to the Ark of the Covenant, new information is that they found there also some first century remains. So there's already one article suggesting maybe Emmaus is up there. All of these sites may sound attractive because of the distance, but the evidence is inconclusive and the name is not preserved. There are two more sites that you could claim as well, which are Moza and Khirbet Bet Miza. But as I've reviewed these sites as well, they also have their own problems, and especially in this case, the distance again. To sum up, in my opinion, the relocation should be sought after at Emmaus Nicopolis, at the bottom of this valley. And then the intriguing question is, can we actually spot traces of the road between Jerusalem and Emmaus? And in my humble opinion, first of all, when you exit Jerusalem, even today, if you know where to walk, you can track some of these serpentines of the Roman ascent or descent, and even a few sections where some road pavement can still be seen. Another very interesting spot along that way is right here. This is again part of the road, although of course the way it's been set up today with bulldozers for at least off-road vehicles did not preserve anything of the old road. But what do we have here? These standing stones are not a local Stonehenge. They are not from any prehistorical period. These people are traffic signs from the Roman era, milestones. They were placed at every miles passus, every 1,000 double steps, as a marker to the distance and the location that this road leads to. And they used to be sometimes presented in clusters, in sets of milestones for each maintenance project that has been done. Now here's the sad part. Although they can be very, very informative, the emperors usually ordered just to write the text on the milestone, which should have the distance, the destination, and most of it actually imperial propaganda. The sad part, however, is if you write it on ink, well, it just doesn't last. So as you can see, these milestones look like they're incomplete or empty, right? There's absolutely no text on them, which is quite frustrating for an archaeologist trying to squeeze any information. Okay, and that applies also for these. It really looks something prehistoric when you look at this like this. But there is one of them where the emperor said, no, chisel the letters. and his name was Maximianus. So here we have the inscription, the very long inscription of Maximianus and his deputy, of course written in Greek if you want the locals in this region to be able to read your imperial propaganda. And at the bottom you should have the destination in the distance. Maybe it said here Emmaus or Nicopolis, although it was really part of the road going not just to Emmaus but all the way to Diospolis, whose other name was Lod, and eventually Jaffa. Okay, Emmaus was just a station just before you start hitting the ascent to get up to Jerusalem. So this is all very, very interesting material. And there's also a sign here. Whoop, don't slip. Danny the slipper. There's also an inscription here presenting the full text of that emperor. To Emperor Caesar Julius Verus Maximianus the Pious, the Fortunate, the Augustus. Yes, he's making sure that he relates to the Augustine family. And to Gaius Julius Verus Maximus, Caesar of Maximinus. Okay, he is this deputy there. He's already preparing the public to the next guy. Augustus, the Invincible, the Pious, and the Fortunate. Wow, they were so fortunate to have so many titles. And what we can tell about him is that he reigned in a very specific period, which was rather short, for about 3 years. Okay, and that's very good because then you can date the specific milestone and the specific maintenance project, of which nothing can be seen today, to that period. Okay, so we can now say with certainty that in late Roman period, this was indeed the way to Emmaus. Now, one puzzling question is, was it also the road, the exact path, in the days of Jesus? And unfortunately, we cannot answer this with 100% certainty, because when the Jews used the roads, they did not place any milestones. Okay, if Herod maintained any stones, or the Maccabees, they didn't bother to make any markers. So we just cannot answer this question. However, there are two scholars, a father and a son by the last name of Tepper, who argue that the road system from Roman times as we know it today was indeed already prepared by the Jews in earlier times, and especially the roads going up to Jerusalem. Because Jerusalem was attracting Jews from all over the ancient world, and especially around it, in the mountainous part, they wanted to have proper roads that will enable this ascent, and also to make sure these roads are pure, that they are not passing by any cemeteries. Sometimes we even find ritual baths on the sides of these roads. Okay, so I can't say this with 100% certainty, but it does make sense to argue that this road definitely in use in Roman times, most likely have been in use also in the days of Jesus. So Jesus, perhaps with Cleopas and the other person, were walking on this very path. Isn't that amazing? That you can actually take texts from the scripture, from the New Testament, 2,000 years old, and track parts of it. Track tangible remains of that path. Wow. And this path, for many believers is not just a physical path, it's also a spiritual path. It's a path on which you take when all of a sudden, at the end, you recognize him. Paul has also witnessed a similar experience, although on the road to Damascus. It's interesting that people get this enlightenment when they are on a certain way to a certain destination, and maybe it's a spiritual way to a spiritual destination. I love it when you can spot inner, hidden, higher meaning to everything that appears in the text. But I'm an archaeologist. I stick to the tangible archaeological remains, and when they are found and when they can relate to the scriptures, that's magic for me. That's what I love, and I hope you're enjoying my presentation of this attitude. So thank you all so much. And the next chapter, where we headed to, the Gospel of Luke tells us that after his appearance at Emmaus, he actually returns to Jerusalem. he goes back and appears to his disciples. The other Gospels tells us that he appeared to them by the Sea of Galilee. But sticking to Jerusalem's area, I'm going to follow Luke version this time. And so head back to Jerusalem and track both the place of his appearance, at least what archaeology and tradition says, and then start dealing with peripheral sites and traditions. Okay? We know, of course, that Jesus eventually ascended back to the heavens, and Mount of Olives is going to be maybe the very last chapter relating directly to him. But then there are sites relating to Mary, to John the Baptist, to James, to Stephanos. There's still a good amount of sites in and around Jerusalem which are worth a review. So stay tuned, because more good stuff is about to come. And of course, those joining us, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And I love your comments. I love those positive feedbacks. It's giving me just, an incentive to keep doing this. And of course, if you are considering a tour to the Holy Land, let's just say that I know a good tour guide. Okay, and this is the time, people. The skies are open. The skies are open, and they just announced yesterday that children do not need any more vaccination proof. That's a major breakthrough. In fact, it looks like they're going to just open the skies completely, no restrictions whatsoever, pretty soon. So stay tuned, and definitely if you're vaccinated, well, you don't call anymore. You send an email or in WhatsApp, but contact me. Okay, and let's make your dream of a tour to the Holy Land come true. And of course, those who are supporting me, because I'm still waiting for tourists, I'm still not in the greatest financial condition, I thank you so much for this support. It is not just time consuming, all of this vlogging. It comes with a cost. So I do thank you for those supporting me in this, and I am going to get also better gear. I'm just waiting for specific models to do so. And for those considering to support me also, I thank you already now in advance. Toda raba. Toda raba. Thank you very much. Evcharistopoli. Tishikure dirim. Merci beaucoup. And shalom from the Holy Land.